Uh, Boa tarde for me because I am in America. Surprise, surprise. How y'all doing? Happy Thursday. I'm in a new locale. Well, new for you, not new for me because I'm in Florida. Um, yeah, different than where I was last Thursday. I didn't tell y'all. I have returned to the United States. Hopefully, you can see and hear me. I have a new microphone because I know there's been some audio issues the past a little bit. So, hopefully, we're going to test this one out and you guys will tell me whether this is a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And since I've been in the States, unfortunately, I've been under the weather. So, I'm sucking on something to get me through this live. I'm hoping that I don't sound too horrible, even with the new mic. But we will have some fun nonetheless because you know me, I like to have fun. So, for those of you who are in Europe, I know it's nighttime, so boy, night for you. It is 4:30 where I am because I am on Central Time, and 5:30 for our East Coast friends. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see. Let's see who's here. Hey, Marguerite, first in the chat today. Hey, Marguerite. Mm-hmm. Marguerite is going to be on the channel with our guest for tonight on Sunday, so y'all tune in. I have headphones in, which I normally do not, so I will be messing with that a little bit. So if you see me playing with my face, I got a lot going on right now. Trying to do this from not my usual location. It's a work in progress. Hey, Greta, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, Shanora, how are you? How are you? Jan is in the house. Yes, 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 yes. Hey, Frederica. Wait, where are you now? Because, I can't keep up with Miss Frederica. Uh, Bodacious. West Harlem, New York City. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. All right. Kim Apple is in the house. Good to see you all. Oh my goodness. Eleanor is here. I know y'all, some of y'all have come right over from Our Black Utopia. So, hello. Um, Glad you are here. Diane is here. Jametta. Jess is like, wait, where'd you come from? Woo, let me tell you, this being in the States has been an assault on my senses on all levels. I've been coughing, sneezing, sore throat, the whole bit. I'm like, I've been gone. It's been 8 months almost. Hey, H&D, how you doing? Tanel, how are you? Yes, love Nija. Jan, Jana, Jana N. Janine. Hopefully I said that correctly. Hey, 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 Catherine's in the house. Yes. Gills Gap Girl. Yes. And my piece. Look, let me tell y'all. I have to tell you. Oh, yes. Thank you, Jess. After the live, I do plan to take some Benadryl because good thing all the podcast episodes are recorded because this voice is shot. Oh, it did. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yes. So for those of you who are in Portugal, which is where I normally am, today is Freedom Day, which celebrates 50 years of Portugal being a democracy after the end of the dictatorship. And so, as you can imagine, with this being the 50th anniversary, there's been lots of parties going on. Some of y'all who are in the chat that are either in Blacks Global normally are in here. Y'all been celebrating all day. I've been seeing the group chat. I've been trying not to have FOMO as I walk the streets of Florida. I miss home. I miss home. Let me tell y'all, since I've been in the US, I've been jacked up sick. I'm like, what? I've been in Europe almost 8 months. I've barely been sick once. I haven't even been here 8 days. Let me tell you, I wasn't even on the ground at 4 hours and I was ready to go back home. But I won't even digress and tell you that whole hot mess of a story. Yes, Carnation Day. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. So, for those of you who do not know me, I'm Krishan Wright. I'm the founder of Black Global. Because some of y'all, this might be your first time. I am Krishan Wright. I'm the founder of Black Global. I'm also the host of the Black Global podcast. If you're a Black person and you are looking to move abroad, you don't know how, I'm your girl. Because some of the people in this chat, I've helped move abroad. They're having fun. They're living their best lives, right? And you will get the information, the inspiration, the motivation to get from where you are now to where you want to be. Like I normally am in Lisbon, Portugal. But right now, I'm chilling with mom. Mom's chilling in the other room. And so we're going to make this work. Florida is kind of hot today. Yeah, it's 80, I think, today. The other day it was like low 70s. But yeah, definitely. Yes. And listen to Jess while you're here. Hit the like button. So for those of you who have been watching this channel this month, as you know, April is Financial Literacy Month. And I have dedicated this channel to financial literacy. Why, might you ask? Because for this month, because one of the biggest impediments for people who are interested, who want to move abroad, is money, right? And how to pay off debt, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. How to structure their assets in terms of how you access them if you want to, you know, move abroad early, which is what we talked about last week with our guests, from permission to be wealthy, and all the things in between, right? So if you have, this is your first time like catching part of the series, definitely after the live, go back and watch the earlier episodes. We talked about getting from 0 to 100,000. We talked about selling your business with Tracy Collins, right? And then we talked about financial independence, retiring early. That was last week. And now we're talking about tackling debt, right? And why it's so important, because you literally can live the life of your dreams if you unshackle yourself from debt. And so I thought about it, who would be the best people to have on the channel to talk about it? None other than my business partners who, like, no joke, crushed it, okay? They went from negative 20,000 to over $1 million net worth. And so if they could do it, you could do it. So with that,
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to welcome Our Black Utopia,
Hey
Ric.
sis, how you? Hey,
Hey there.
you need to bring your butt home.
You
Yeah,
know, you ain't
You
lying. You ain't
know?
lying.
we miss you.
Wow, wow. I
Miss
hate
y'all.
knowing that you ain't feeling well, but I know how you feel because I was there when I had to go back to the
US of A.
yeah.
Ooh,
And we had to take them straight to urgent
I
care.
had to go to urgent care when
wow.
I was there, so yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
my
And
goodness.
I was scared because I was like, this gonna cost me a grip
You
of money.
know.
Are we gonna get back in debt
We gonna get
and have
back.
to stay?
Oh, baby, you gonna have to sell something.
This is the last place you want to get sick. I'm like, oh my goodness. The only thing that's been my saving grace is Amazon, right?
Mm.
So I was like, oh wait, I gotta get my sea moss, my vitamin C. I'm like, click, click, click.
Get
Hours
it all
later,
while you
it's showing up
can.
at the
Yeah.
door.
Delivered
I'm like,
same day.
okay,
Delivery
Yeah.
same day, yeah.
yes,
But we miss you, and
I miss
of
you.
course we were celebrating the day with all the Portuguese people. Well, we Portuguese, right?
Well, we are honorary Portuguese,
Honorary Portuguese, so it was fun. It
but
was
we had Portuguese folks in our group, which
yeah,
really helped because they were
Oh
explaining
wow.
stuff. Yeah,
it was an amazing day, and
yeah,
we missed you because you usually in these streets with us.
yep.
I'm in those streets,
In,
okay.
in these international streets.
Yes, I was watching from afar, and I'm like, oh, they look like they're having so much fun, which they were.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even from last night, like today is Freedom Day, but The party started yesterday.
It started,
It
yeah,
started yesterday.
yeah,
It did.
and
It
it was
did.
amazing. It was truly amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. They did a good job.
Wow.
They did
Oh
a
my
great
gosh.
job
Wow.
explaining the history, and yeah, it was is very interesting. And I think that folks who don't know much about Portugal or don't know much about Western Europe other than their vacation time, if they were to see the presentation, and we went live on IG last night, if they were
Yes,
to
I
see
caught
the
it.
presentation of the history, they would probably be surprised by the images that they saw.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it
So you
was
might
it
want to
was
check that out.
yes, definitely check it because I like looked at it. There was a lot going on in Portugal yesterday, like the lead up to Freedom Day. I don't know if you all also saw with all the festivities going on yesterday that the president of Portugal also apologized for Portugal's role in the transatlantic slave trade and that reparations is something that needs to be on the table. So
Mm.
I was like, yeah, you know what? You'll never hear the country that I'm currently sitting in say that.
Mm-mm.
Not the
No,
But
president
see,
saying
but
that.
see
not the
that
president.
that's your boy, ain't it? The
You
president of
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Portugal.
Didn't you have a selfie with him?
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's your boy.
did. I did. I may have whispered in the ear. I was like, Marcelo,
You need to fix this.
y'all need to make it right.
I feel like I'm getting some of my reparations. I'm not gonna lie.
Absolutely.
I'm not
No
gonna
doubt.
lie.
No doubt. And and the reason why we're having this conversation tonight is because we want our people to get theirs, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
in order to get yours, you have to start to think outside the box. Because I feel like in this season of life, I'm collecting mine,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We trying to
Yes.
tell you.
Yes.
Life is
So
good.
it is good. So for the good people that might not have seen you or heard you, although Rick and Halisi were guests on the Blacks of Global podcast last season
Yeah.
and in the article that I wrote for Condé Nast World Traveler and Retiring to
Hmm.
Portugal, they are not new to this. They're true to this. So
I
if
love that.
you don't mind telling the good people uh, about yourselves.
Can you start?
Well, this beautiful lady here, she's the one that keeps me going. My name is Rick.
Yeah. I'm Halisi, and we are the founders of Our Black Utopia, as well as Beyond the Bling, the financial independence course for folks who are getting a late start in their financial planning.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And we live here in Lisbon, Portugal. We also have permanent residency in Mexico. And I would say we started figuring out that our lifestyle was not going to be sustainable indefinitely and that we would never live our dreams probably back in about 2017, 2018. And that's when we started looking at stuff and trying to do things differently.
and we found out that being in other places is possible.
Yeah. Yes.
Living in other places, experience in other places. It's okay. You don't just have to go for a vacation.
Yeah. Leave your zip code. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to, you can do it and leave that good job in that nice neighborhood, all them fancy cars and all that bling that you spoke of earlier, and live the life of your dreams. Um, and also for those of you who are watching, some of you, I hope you all know that that we also hosted the Move to Portugal virtual summit together in
Yes.
November of last year. And if you're interested in watching the replays, so that you too, if you're interested in, can move to Portugal, you can find the links to all of that in the description of the video. So you guys said something at the top of this conversation that was really impactful, right? Was that you were in a lot of debt, you were nearing retirement, and things were looking, and I'm gonna let Rick say it because I want to hear it on this channel. Well, how was it looking, Rick?
It was looking crazy.
He's such a nut. Action VJ got him doing that.
Action
No
BJ, it's his
way.
fault. Yeah, it's his fault. It's his fault.
And I know he's in the chat.
I'm putting
I
the
know, I
blame on
saw
you,
him.
bruh.
But yeah, it was great. It was it didn't make any sense. It's not like we ever made a lot of money. Like you made big bucks, Krishan. We never made big bucks like you made, ever, ever. As a matter of fact, I don't know exactly how much you made, but I would venture to say you alone were probably making what we were making combined.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a
Okay.
fair statement because I was in the last 3 or 4 years before I left. I was in the twos
Right.
and then
And
ended in the
so,
threes. Yeah.
see, yeah, nowhere even close. Nowhere even close. And which is kind of crazy when you think about our age, our experience, and education. Of course, we are out west. It's cheaper to live there. So I suppose that if we were in New Jersey, New York, or someplace like that,
Oh yeah, you
we would
need the
be
twos
making
and the
more.
threes.
But the cost of living is that expensive as well, right? So
Yeah.
how much better would we really have been, right? Moving from Los Angeles to Colorado, what we noticed was, or what I noticed was, rent was not as inexpensive in comparison to LA as one would think,
Mm-hmm.
but to buy was a lot less expensive. And so in those days, it made sense to buy. Like you could, when you did the ROI and you bought, you could live cheaper for 5 years in a purchased place than you could even with FHA, 3% loan, than you could renting.
Wow.
Right. And so, and one of the reasons is they some class action lawsuits kind of put some moratoriums on multifamily building for a while there in Colorado. So
Oh,
they
I
had
didn't
some,
know that.
yeah, they had some crazy stuff happen and some stuff happen in buildings and this and that and the other. And so, um, you know, they put some measures in place that kind of slowed down multifamily buildings. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why it was cheaper actually when we were there to buy than it was to rent back in the day. But still, like my highest salary ever was like 92,000.
Wow. And that's
His,
still a good salary when you look at the median salary across the United States.
but I
Mm.
was 57 years old with a master's degree.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
His highest salary was probably something like 72,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And that's
And
with doing all the things that Black excellence tells you to do,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, yeah, actually, my highest was probably 77, 78.
with bonuses, that's the
Mm-hmm.
bonuses.
Yeah.
That's not the, that's that. You're right. And you're
Yeah,
right.
that's not base. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's base, right? Like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
72 base, but and it might have been even more than that with bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
But the bonuses were dependent upon him working harder, doing this, doing that, right? Because it was all based upon what kind of profits they were making on your properties.
Oh, yeah.
And here's the other thing, because this is what they do. This is what they do. He was making that kind of money only managing one property. Oh well, so and so and homeboy quit, and that property's just down the street. Can you just watch that for a while, for a little bit while, for a little bit more, for a little bit more, and next thing you know, it's permanent. But where's the extra money? Ain't no extra money. Ain't no extra money. And then
Mm-hmm.
after the
Mm.
pandemic, it's like, oh, so how we had you just doing two, we gonna have you doing three, but they're right around the corner from each other. But yeah, three hotels you will now have to manage
Yep.
the whole audio for no extra money because that's what they
Yes.
do to us.
Yeah.
And they
Yes.
knew that he was one of the few people who could handle that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is what they do.
Buck breaking,
This is what they do, y'all.
right? They go back to
Us.
their ancestral roots. It's buck breaking.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
I'm gonna give you everything. See
Yeah.
how much
Hmm.
you can stand, and then continue to dangle this carrot to see how much you gonna work on the, not the promise, the
Mm.
idea that you might get
Yeah.
recompense on the
Exactly.
other side.
Exactly. Maybe. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, that, and then with that little bit of money and still trying to live as if we are making 2 to 300,000 collectively equals negative 22,000 plus in debt.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
right? With property,
Mm-hmm.
still negative 22,000 net worth.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're in the red. You're in the red.
Yeah.
And there really isn't any reason for it. We don't
No.
have to live that way. As
Because
soon
there's not
as
much to show for it on the other side, right? You may have things that have, right, like I make sense of it like this. You may have been, negative 22,000 in the hole, but when you look at the things you acquired, if you wanted to sell that, you would not get that
Mm-mm.
money or more
Right. No.
no,
for
because they
what you
weren't
had.
investments. They weren't
Yes.
investments. Cars, y'all,
Yeah.
are not an investment.
No.
No.
They're a tool.
Yep. Homes that you live in.
May not be an investment. It depends,
Yep. Exactly. Yes. Right.
right? But
There's
yeah,
always an asterisk. Very true. But I chose after I sold my house in 2013, maybe somewhere around there. After it sat on the market for 3 years, right? Post everything that happened in 2008, 2009.
right, right,
Mm.
And thought about getting another house, but then that's when they changed like the salt deduction. And so I said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to rent. And that was the best decision because for me, because I didn't have to worry about if something happens, I have to be on the hook for it, right?
right,
Right.
Refrigerator goes out. There were a couple times in my last building I had issues with my air conditioning. They had to replace the whole unit. Like certain things that I can't predict when those things are going to happen or not happen. And I also, in that, I was a high earner those last few years, to pad my black sit, thankfully. But I also was laid off 5 times, right? In that 15-year span. And the longest period I went without a job was 2 years. There were times where I went a year, 2 years. So if you look at that 15-year span, it's a good 3 years that I had zero income, right? And so, and, took on some debt at points, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I had to feed my family, my 2 children,
Right.
and myself. But all that is to say that it was, at least for me and curious for you, it was realizing first what the issue is, second, figuring out a plan to get out and believing that there was something better on the other side, not knowing what it was, and then educating myself and continuing to educate myself, right? And
Mm-hmm.
not get into, at least for me, which I'm an introvert, so I can spin if I want to, um, in this negative feedback loop for a while, like, oh, you know, you should be here, you did this, and that's not productive. Like you can sit
no,
there for a minute, but you can't stay there.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And especially when it comes to Black excellence, we look at our lives and where we are at that particular moment and judge it against where uh, society, Black society, tells us we're supposed to be at that point in our lives, what we're supposed to have, what we should have accumulated by that time, and what we should be able to do. And none of that stuff necessarily brings happiness, right? We think that if we do the things and have the stuff and get to the place where other people say we're supposed to be at 40, at 50, at 60, whatever, even at 30, right? Then we will be happy,
Yeah. Then we're good.
right?
Yeah.
But we're not. We're not, because that's not what we want for ourselves necessarily. And I've never really been that materialistic, but there's always been a part of me, and well, not anymore, but at that time, that wanted to impress the Joneses.
Of
Of
Mm.
course, because
course.
it's ubiquitous. It's ubiquitous. And and see, because I'm not like them. So, if I'm going to have the Coach bag, it's not going to have the C's all over it because,
Hmm.
I'm not in it. But you're going to see that little Coach. Like, I'm not going to have the Fendi with all that stuff on it, but you'll see the little tag on it, the little chain or whatever, and
Hmm.
know that it's Fendi, right?
Yeah. I'm a
You'll see the
signal
red
that I
bottoms.
belong. that I've
You'll see the
arrived.
red bottoms, but I'm not going to wear the red bottoms with all the logos all over the shoes, right? Like,
No.
right. Come on,
Yeah.
Halisi. Like it's just a different flavor of the same crap,
Mm-hmm.
and it still stinks.
Yeah. Because I think you had like, what was it? Nordstrom was your spot.
Oh,
Nordstrom Rack.
come on. Well,
Nordstrom Rack. I was like, I
no,
knew it was Nordstrom Rack. Yeah.
Nordstrom Rack when I'm doing good. Nordstrom period when it comes to shoes.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Okay.
Because and Nordstrom period. Because
Mm-hmm.
I love the return policy. I don't know if they still have it. But that
They
like,
might have changed it after you.
but I wasn't the part. I wasn't the person who like wore stuff and left the tag in. Like I'm gonna buy it, because I'm that person. I don't need to return it. I might be in debt. My credit card might be maxed out, but I don't need to return it.
Yeah,
Come on,
just
Mm-hmm.
make minimum
that's for the
payments on it.
unwashed. Meanwhile, we're negative 22,000 in net worth.
Wow.
But we made minimum payments on stuff.
Our bills were paid on
They
time,
are paid on time.
right? And our credit score was good. Get out my face. What you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What you talking about? What
Yeah.
do you mean bad credit? No, we got good credit. Bills paid on time. Bills
Yes.
paid on time. Got this much in savings, but
Yeah.
bills are paid.
Mhm. But that's also a great point because and hopefully as you all are listening to this, you get the that we are sharing where we were, right?
Mhm.
And all the things, all the conditioning, all the thoughts that were in our head as we were going through this. We're inundated as Americans with at least 10,000 advertisements in a day, whether you are conscious of it or not. That
Not.
TV that's playing in the background, those
Oh,
ads that show up when you're on social media, those billboards you
Right?
pass.
yes,
Right?
Like
yes,
you don't really realize those coworkers that, like Halisi you were saying, wearing, different things. You are constantly being marketed to. And it is difficult for you to not consume when you're
right.
in a consumer driven society. So this is not to shame anybody. It's to say, hey, we were part of that too.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh
were.
yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh yeah.
were.
And it's one of the most important thing is just like they're bombarding you with all this information on buy this, buy that. You need this to be like this. You need this to look like this. You need to drive this car to make everybody look at you and think that you're the same thing. You need to turn around and write that letter, which we did, to the Joneses, saying we through. We're done. We're not
Break
doing
up.
this no more. We're
Mm-hmm.
breaking up. And you have to really, sometimes it takes physically writing something and being able to look at it for it to really take in your own mind that, okay, I'm not doing this no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just saying it, but having it in writing.
Yeah. It's something therapeutic about that. And explaining the why. Because if you don't know your why, whether it's your why for getting out of debt, your why for moving abroad, your why for building wealth, if you're not clear on that, you will revert back to bad
Mhm.
behavior that has instant gratification,
Oh yeah.
right? Because it's hard to live in the United States. It's hard to live with disappointment. It's hard to live with regrets. And so, one of the things that we've realized is that in order to live a life that has minimal regrets, we have to stop doing things that are in line with other folks and what they say we're supposed to be doing and start living a life that we want, which means that it's okay if we don't have the latest this or that. It's
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
if you see me in the same outfit at this meetup that I had
Mm-hmm.
at the last meetup.
Because don't nobody care.
Nobody like
No, ain't nobody
nobody
take
cares
you.
but you. Well, there's always that friend of me in the United
But who,
States,
yeah, but who
True.
cares?
right?
True.
And I'm going to be honest. I was that one who I remember purchasing something for, an event and saying, she ain't going to be able to say I had this on last time. Don't even like home chick. Can't stand her.
But
But I spent money
Yeah.
to impress her.
mhm,
Yeah. Impress people that you don't like, that probably don't like you, that also don't have money, right? the
Mm.
people that pull up in the Jaguar at the light because they want somebody to see them in the Jaguar when they don't know you from Boo. They might say,
Right.
"Oh, look at that car," right? But you're in your mind, you've internalized that, oh, I'm taking the attributes of this luxury vehicle and my job title and that house that I'm still making payments on and, forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You ascribe
Yeah.
all of those things to yourself. And
Yeah.
that also is why when people have, and I went through these periods myself, a job interruption, or I went also through divorce, that you can also get into that negative feedback loop because you're looking at the extrinsic value, right? You're defining your life and who you are and your worth, your self worth, by
Yeah.
how others perceive you versus how you perceive yourself, because that's what
Yourself.
really matters.
So I kind of a short, funny story. I had a good friend who always wanted to impress people. He's a very, very nice guy, type of guy that you can hang out with, have fun with, and all that stuff. So one day he pulls up in a Mercedes, not a new Mercedes, an older model, and he's like, "What do you think of my Mercedes?" I said, "Oh man, that's nice. It's cool. It's good. You went out and bought a Benz and stuff. It's gotta cost you a pretty penny." He had a Chevrolet engine in it.
Styling and profiling,
I was
baby.
like, "Bruh."
But I can't afford the maintenance.
Krishan, I was like, "Bruh, that ain't a Benz. That's just the body of a Benz with a Chevrolet engine." I said, "The engine is the whole thing with Mercedes Benz." Well, I couldn't afford one with the engine, but it's still, people don't know. It's like people do know. And who cares? I swear.
And the other piece to that is he probably, see, we think that if we have the trappings of following the rules and doing the things that bring us to this elevated status, as far as classism goes, that
Mm.
we will not be subject to racism.
Mm, true.
But instead, what happens is instead, you get pulled over and say, whose car is this? Are
Oh,
you selling
absolutely.
drugs?
Yeah.
Especially on the West Coast, right? This is what happened. Like, are you selling drugs?
Yeah, you fit the
Is this your daddy's
description.
car? Like, exactly. So you never, like, you cannot black excellence your way out of the oppression that is the United States.
Oh yeah, 100%. Case in point, I'm going through reverse culture shock right now, right? Being back in the States. And it is let me look at my Apple Watch, because y'all know most of the times when I go live, I'll say, "Oh yeah, I did, 13,000, 14,000 steps today." And it's 5:03 here. 2,700 steps towards the end of the day. There's no way. Like, I do that before breakfast in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I did, yesterday I think I did 700 steps. The day before that, 1,000. My body is like,
Ooh.
what? Someone was like, oh, go around the neighborhood if you need to get steps in. In
Mm,
Florida?
mm.
In Florida. I was like,
Yeah.
Ma, your neighbors don't even walk around. Not because it's not a good neighborhood,
Right.
but by me doing that, right? Because most Americans are sedentary, right? So and you got these big, I'm looking at one right now, big gas guzzling truck. So your neighbors are not pedestrians. So for me to walk around this neighborhood and do my laps, it's something that they don't do. So then it's
Right.
going to be like, oh, is she casing a joint? I mean, what's that in her
Exactly.
hand? Is that a
Yeah.
gun? Oh, this strange woman is walking around. I think she's up to something. I think she's going. I've never seen her before. Never mind the fact that we've been in this house for 30 years. I haven't lived in this house for 30 years, but over 30 years,
But the
right?
family has been.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, and then plus, this is like a shoot first, ask questions.
Exactly.
Never.
Florida, Florida man found this. Florida woman
Yeah,
found there.
exactly. So I was like, you ain't getting me, got.
No,
Yeah. Exactly.
My
no.
Exactly.
job is to get on a plane, My body will be corrected in Pilates when I return to Portugal next week. Okay.
Yeah, catch me
Hey,
out there.
so I think where were we? We went to somebody's apartment here, trying to find their apartment. Oh,
Well,
Jerry and Alex, and we went to the wrong apartment the very first time. I think it was their apartment.
that it happened there. It happened when Rashida was here, and we went to the wrong apartment. She was staying in an
Yeah,
Airbnb.
Rashida's apartment in the Airbnb, and went to the wrong apartment, and it was like, oh, sorry, we're at the wrong apartment. Oh, yeah, no
Oh, you
problem.
probably want to here. Let me show you how to get to A, B, and C. Not shoot first
But
Yes.
and ask questions later.
we went back to the States, and my best buddy, he
Former
invited
cop.
us over to the family. He had rented a house for a get together and stuff like that, and we went, and he wasn't there yet, and he said, "I." We pulled up to the house, and I didn't see any trucks or anything that I was familiar with, and I was like, "I don't know if I'm at the right house."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, just go and knock on the door. My daughter's in there." And I'm like, "No, I'm not knocking on nobody's door."
Mm-mm.
He's like,
No.
"Yeah, it'll be fine. They should be in there." I was like, "Dude, I am not in Portugal. I am not knocking on
Nope.
anybody's door and getting shot."
Nope.
I
So she
mean,
had to come
she had to
out
come out.
onto the porch. This is the house. Come on in.
Wow.
Yeah,
Blah blah whoop de whoop.
yeah. I wasn't
Wow.
going to do it. Nope.
Right,
Yeah, I
right.
don't blame you.
I ain't gonna be that accident.
No.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is, and so when we were getting out of debt, I don't know if we knew why we were doing this, but God knew.
Mm.
Mm,
Because we should have like never got into debt. That's number one. Number two, we never had a sincere reason. Now, interesting because you're talking about how many times you've been laid off.
Mm-hmm.
Besides folks who work for the government, right? I bet you the majority of us have been laid off so much that if we looked at our Social Security earnings over the past 25, 30 years, we would be shocked. We
Mm-hmm.
would be shocked. I have been laid off of probably 80% of the jobs that I've ever had.
Wow.
And right. And like, so the notion that, you're going to stay on a job 25, 30 years, you're
Mm-hmm.
going
mm,
to get this pension and this and that and the other, like that was gone with my generation. And I'm going to be 60 this birthday. So it's been gone for a long, long time. Regardless of education,
Mm-hmm.
I started my career with a bachelor's degree, got a master's in the middle. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And I would challenge, I bet you if we looked at the statistics with somebody with the same experience, the same education, but white in America probably does not have the same experience of being laid off
Nope.
incessantly, like habitually, as we have,
Oh, I
especially when you
agree.
when you when you take into account education, et cetera, et cetera. So I realized that if we didn't want to keep working our butts off, that we had to get this debt. It like I was very, 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 very aware of how much this debt was costing us with interest and everything else. Like I kid myself and say, yeah, we paid our bills on time, but I still knew deep down inside we shouldn't have all this credit card debt.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not even talk about the car loan because you bought more car than you needed, and student loans. We ain't going to even talk about that. Let's just talk about credit card debt because that's unsecured high interest debt with no return on value. At least
None.
with the education they can't take that information away from you, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right, and you can parlay that into something that is money generating. But credit card debt is like the stupidest thing, these short-term high interest loans. And when we talk to some of the folks who book one-on-one calls with us and we ask them two questions like what interest are you paying, and they say I don't know,
I don't know.
Ooh.
or they say oh only about 27, 28%.
That's crazy. Because when I was in high school, I still remember this from economics. When my professor told me, or my teacher said, that anything over 20% is usury. And this was
Mm,
in the early 90s, right? Fast forward to today, You see 23, 26 point, whatever. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah,
29.99. And don't
29.9.
ooh.
and don't be late on a payment, because
Ooh,
then they'll jack you up,
ooh,
right? Don't. And even if you've never been late on a payment with them, but you are late on a payment with somebody else,
right,
or your debt to income ratio changes for the worse, they'll say, "Oh, they're more of a risk. Jack up their rate."
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
And that's why you don't want to be carrying that credit card balance. You just don't.
And I think a lot of people too are afraid to look at their debt. And I think they're afraid to look at their numbers. We did a
mm,
video on that once because it's like if I don't see it, it's not there. As long as I don't give it any attention, it'll be okay. As long as I'm paying whatever and I'm not getting any notices in the mail, I'm okay. But it's like you can't keep running from it because
yeah,
guess what? It's going to chase you down,
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's going to chase you down until you take care of
When we talk about freedom and liberation and this and that, especially on today, which is Freedom Day for Portugal, real freedom is being debt free,
it. Mm.
amen to that.
right?
Amen to that.
Real freedom is financial freedom.
Yes.
And it's interesting because when I was running for office, I had people say, "Well, what about this and what about that?" And my whole thing was about economic liberation. That was my whole platform, whether it was dealing with entrepreneurship, supporting businesses, but it was about us making money. And people say, "Well, yeah, but we need to be talking about education." First of all, I was running for city council. It's amazing how people don't know what parts of the government does what, but that's a different story for a different day. But we should be talking about this. We should be talking about that. I'm like, all of those things can be solved with money. The reason why you want the government to invest more money over here, which you can fight that fight, but in the meantime, in between time, you can't afford to send your kid to public private school. Or you don't have the luxury to raise money like the suburban moms to get all those extra things in your school like they can, because you can't live on one income.
Mm-hmm.
So health, same thing. No matter what you talk
Mm.
about, the bottom line can be solved with money. So if you don't have your money straight, everything else is a hassle. And I used to say I would not have any stress if I didn't have money stresses.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize the power when you're able to eliminate debt. One of the things that I noticed for myself, I'm going to take a leap and say you did as well for you, was I was then able to redirect what I was spending on debt to investing in me, in my future me, right? Because I didn't have to have that car payment anymore. Once I paid it off, it was like, oh, well, that $400 car payment can go on top of or be the first thing that I'm, doing it for those of you who have never invested, that could be that contribution
Hmm.
that you're making or on top of what you're already
Right,
doing to get you to the point where you are either, completely fire where you can say, "Hey, I'm not going to work at all," or be work optional.
right,
And the more that I started to work on my mindset and saying, okay, Krishan, redirect this money here, and looking at, matching and other things that I think it was like 2 years in a row, I did maybe like $100,000 invested from all sources those last 2 years. Prior to that, I'd be like, if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, take $100,000 and put that in the stock," I'd be like, "What? What do we?" Right? But these are all, incremental steps that you take. You don't go from 0 to 1,000 overnight or 100,000 right overnight. It's all a mindset shift, right?
right.
But
Mm.
it's
Yes.
showing you what's possible when you have full agency and control, and you can start to build that muscle to
Yeah.
say no to consumerism and capitalism, to say no to a job that's dangling a carrot of a higher salary, but knowing that there's strings attached with that, and
Some
saying no.
stressful strings.
Exactly, because they tried to lure me in with double that last little bit, and I was like, no, 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 not today, Satan.
Get thee behind me.
Exactly.
I rebuke you.
Yes, yes,
They try to suck you in just like a succubus.
Oh yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So for you guys, right, you were able to turn it around, and then we talked about it a little bit, but I know people probably obviously know, right, because you're in Portugal. Um, so when you started to eliminate that debt, is that when moving abroad, let's start there versus like Portugal specifically, is that when you realize like the opportunity to live elsewhere was within eyeshot?
You know, we we had been on the debt elimination train um since about 2012 actually is when we started. We didn't get serious. Like we started evaluating stuff and saying, wait a minute. And so the first part of that was that we gave ourselves an allowance.
Mhm.
And so we said, okay, this is our play money, and just automatically transferred that money into separate accounts.
Mhm.
So that was the first step, and not just spending aimlessly. And then starting to look at debt, and I was like, oh Lord, the first time we went to South Africa, charge it, debt schmet. I'm like,
Mhm.
we going, charge. I got American Express. What's my limit? Oh, no limit, charge it. three
American
tick,
Express loved it.
3 tickets to South Africa. Boom, here we go.
And you ain't
Right?
gotta pay it all at once because it's
Yeah, it's
travel.
travel. So you mean I get okay? So I could pay $35 this month, and then next month I pay 40 because the minimum is 32. Hey, I'm paying minimum. I'm paying $8 more. Don't tell me.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. So, but we didn't get serious about it until we had a meeting with this so-called financial advisor
Mm.
who really was an insurance salesperson. And he started, we gave him the numbers, and he started breaking things down for us. And I was like, my first thought was, well, well, he don't know how much money I'm gonna make, and I can do this and I can do that, and that's just based upon how it is today. Rick walked out of there with his tail between his legs and sagging like this, and I'm like, okay, we need to do something about this because we can't save more. See, I didn't even really know how much better it was to invest than just to save. That's how ignorant we
Right.
were. So I'm like, okay, so we cannot save more until we stop having to pay three, four, five, $600 a month sometimes to credit card bills.
Yeah. We had to eliminate that debt.
Right.
Yeah.
I like the snowball method. I had already learned about that way back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing around with it since then. Playing.
Yeah.
Y'all, stop playing.
Yeah.
Don't be like me. Don't be like me. Just do the damn thing. And when you have something to look forward to, when you have a goal, it's a lot easier. At that point, we still didn't know that moving abroad was an option. All I knew is that if we ever wanted to retire, we would have to eliminate this debt, and that $600 a month would have to go into some kind of savings. So that was the beginning of it, and really seeing where our spending was happening. Yeah, no, it wasn't until 2018 when we came to Europe on a month trip that we started saying,
Yeah.
this is kind of nice. Ooh, baby, that's
Well,
nice.
you start you start noticing that there's a lot more out there, and you need to get rid of the debt. You face the debt, and know that there's other possibilities of other things out there. But it just takes facing that debt first.
It definitely does. But the other thing is I don't believe that we realized back in 2018 that while we were here, we were living less expensively.
Yes.
And so the one thing
Yes.
we weren't doing was we were accepting the conversion rate. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do
But
that.
even with accepting the conversion rate, sometimes, like when we got out money, not necessarily in restaurants, I don't think that we appreciated how much less we were spending on the same types of entertainment things that, here as opposed to in the United States. It wasn't until we found Adelia Borchade who introduced us to The Earth Awaits.
And she's here in the chat. Hey, Azalea.
Ah,
Hey,
hey, Adelia.
Adelia. So Piggy Girl travels the world. Yeah. So yeah, before that, we started eliminating debt just because we didn't want to work forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until the pandemic that we started getting information from folks about how doable a life abroad was. And then it was all over because now I have something that's really, really tangible that has been at the heart of my desires for as long as I can remember to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's been a couple of things that I have wanted since childhood.
Mm.
I've always wanted to be an entertainer. Even when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old, we used to put on these neighborhood plays, and I always got to be Cinderella, Snow White, whatever it is that we were doing. Yeah, we invited the whole block to see our little plays. So that part has always been in my blood. And my mom was an entertainer, and both my mom and dad worked in entertainment, and it's in our family. Theater troops and all of that. I grew up around that, and founders in my family. So that was one thing. The other thing was to live outside the United States. Where depended upon which movie that I fell in love with that year that didn't take place in the United States. So it was Santorini, it was Paris, it was London. I mean, it was usually Europe because, when we were younger, how many movies like rom-coms and stuff took place in any place in Africa or South America, or even Mexico for that matter. We're talking about the 70s and 80s. So it was usually Europe. And I'm like, that's me. Maybe the Caribbean. That's me. I ain't staying here. That's what I want. And with absolutely no plan on how to make that happen. Thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
Right? Thank
The
God for the
internet
internet.
has saved us all. As much as, there's talk about, taking TikTok away and other things that, are the bad side of the internet, there's also a lot of positive because
Oh
this
yeah.
is how we found each other. This is
Yep.
how a lot of us have been able to get good with our money, get better with our money, to reverse, in a lot of ways, the conditioning and the money stories that we
Mm-hmm.
inherit
Yeah.
from our family that then shows up in usually how we behave with money, and then subsequently, if you're so fortunate, right, to have that awakening and to take control, because what it is what you touched on. It's a process of saying, okay, I did this, but now I'm going to do something different and to be
Exactly.
intentional with it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is being intentional with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because and until we change the way we're thinking about how we want to do things or how we want to go forward, we kind of lollygag
Waffle.
towards it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really take it seriously, and you know, and who's going to come and tell us, well, you should do this or you should do this to get here.
Right.
Yes.
When we talk to family members and stuff like that and say, hey, look, people contact us and we help people get to where they need to get in order
Financially.
financially to know that they can do what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't even get family to open their eyes and understand that.
Ooh, say that again.
That is so frustrating, but
But they'll text and ask for money, or they'll crowdsource.
right. Like, yeah, it's
We
like
love
you don't
y'all.
have to
We
be
love
doing
y'all.
that. All
But
you just
Exactly.
listen to what I'm saying.
yeah, but we know folks who got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they family members don't be
Yeah,
listening
they don't
either.
listen
They
either.
don't listen.
Wow.
They don't listen,
And I don't
right?
know why that is. It's like, is it? I don't even know because it's not an accessibility thing. Because
Is it
gosh.
like validation? What you need to be validated? You know how they used to always say, "Well, it didn't make sense until a white person said it too."
Oh my gosh.
Well, if they said it like that, then it must be true. It's
Yeah.
like, well,
But David
okay,
Ramsey and Susie Orman are not going to tell you that, babies.
No.
They're
no,
not going
And,
to tell you
and
that.
I will say for me, they were the voices that
hmm
were dominant at that time because there wasn't any representation in, of melanated people. But what I love about your story and your journey is that you could have easily said, okay, you know what? We were near retirement. We didn't plan. We figured out how to get out and then we just going to do us. Is that you were like, no, no, no. You recognize that while those earlier frameworks, those earlier influencers, now we know that a lot of their stuff is horseshit. But at the time, right, the framework is good, right? Like in terms of paying off your debt and debt snowball or avalanche method. But in terms of the representation, how debt and some of these trap doors that are in America were developed specifically for Black people to fall through, right? And being able
exactly.
to speak to that with authenticity and lived experience. That's what I love about the fact that you turn what you experienced and went through to now helping others.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and some of those other outlets are into the shame game without context. And it's real easy to sit on the outside of oppression. Not to say that middle class and poor white folk in America are not oppressed, because they are, but then babies, y'all don't know oppression. It's like, oh, that's precious. If that's all we had to deal with, but we know the powers that be. We know how it goes. It's divide and conquer, right? But I think that um, what I did not like and what I found disheartening about some of those earlier folks who were talking about financial literacy is that they did not take into context that the fact that we're not all starting from the same place, and not because of what we're doing, but because the system was designed to ensure that we were not going to start from the same place, right? There were state sanctioned oppressive measures put into place to ensure that we started behind
hmm
first base, behind the dugout. We ain't even in the dugout, right? Like behind there. So we have to show ourselves grace, at the same time not making excuses for not doing what we have within our power to do. So for
Mm-hmm.
instance, every time we got a bonus, we didn't use the bonus as a way to splurge on something.
buy stuff.
We used the bonus to pay off debt,
Nice.
right? Every time we didn't get tax returns too often, because I all for a long time knew that I didn't want a tax return. I want my money now. I don't want the government making money off my money. And I don't want to owe. So I want to be like, they owe me $100, I owe them $100, somewhere in there, right? So but once in a while, they would change something in the tax laws that I didn't know about, and it would be in our favor. So we'd get a tax return check that goes to pay off debt.
Mm-hmm.
All of um, the money that came to us by surprise, or that we did not anticipate, went to pay off debt, even when we didn't have anything to look forward to besides being
Mm.
debt free,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
By the time 45's little stimulus checks came around at the beginning of the pandemic, and he was making it rain. He
Money
didn't know,
guns. Pow, pow,
like,
pow.
who paying for this? I don't know. It don't matter because you fired. If you ask me, you fired, right?
But Nancy Pelosi's the one that okayed that stuff.
No, Nancy Pelosi did not.
Congress okayed the
Congress okayed
stimulus.
it. Okayed it, right? But somebody put it forward,
Yeah.
and then it's going to turn around and talk about this. These other folks just want to spend a bunch of money and not know how to pay for it. It's like, Negro, so did you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did
yeah,
you.
yeah.
And all
But
the
we
stolen PPP money and all that other
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans,
But
right?
Shenanigans.
one of the sad things, and I love Roland Martin, and watching and listening to different things, and a lot when they say a lot of black people were moving towards
45,
45
becoming 46, 47.
because
47.
they're looking for they think that he's going to give them stimulus checks.
Again. But
That's the mindset of a lot of people that, well, he gonna give us money, he gonna make sure we are up and up, and it's like, no, he's not.
on the one hand, we got the stimulus checks, and the first one paid off the last of our debt.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
then that next one, 100% of it went into investments.
Yeah.
We shouldn't, I mean, technically, we should not have gotten the stimulus checks. It
Yeah.
really should have been saved for the folks who are on the edge.
Mm-hmm.
We realized during the pandemic that we didn't need two incomes,
Mm-hmm.
that we could live just off of our income, or my income, right? Look at that. So where was all that extra money going?
Yeah.
Where the money going?
Yeah.
Right? And so once we realized that and he got called back to work, it was like, okay, so 50% of your income right off the top, boom, into 401k.
Mm-hmm.
20% of my income right off the top, right into 401k. And then extra money on top of that into after tax IRA and brokerage accounts. And because we at that point had no more debt, first stimulus check paying off the last of it,
Mm-hmm.
all of the money that the $600 a month that we were paying towards some credit cards went into investments, right?
Wow.
And and that's the thing that they did not want us to do. Did they encourage us to pay off debt? Did they encourage us to pay our
No.
landlords with those stimulus checks?
No.
No, he was talking about going out and buying big screen TVs. Keep
Yeah.
spending, keep
Yes.
spending.
Because
Just like after 9/11, same
yeah.
thing,
Yeah, because
right?
as a country, we don't manufacture anything, right? Back in the
Right.
day, we wouldn't. We're no like we built cars, we exported goods, right? But if you think about the American economy, the things that we manufacture are weapons of mass destruction, one, and two, it's a information commodity, which are the Facebooks, the
Mhm.
Meta and whatever, X and all the other stuff, right? So we don't manufacture. So our economy is largely built on consumer spending. And as long as they can keep us in a cycle of consumption,
Buying, yeah.
right, we're surrounded, inundated by what are the storage facilities everywhere that's going
Hmm.
up, people with
Right?
4 and 5 cars, multiple homes. And I'm like, well, I can only sleep in one house at a time. I can only drive one car at a
Drive one car at
time,
a time,
right?
yeah.
Like I just, but when, by living in Portugal and, living comfortably, right? Where I have my needs are met and then
Right,
some.
right.
I don't have all of those trappings and I have a bigger life, a fuller life,
Thank you.
right? And then it's like there's no what I think is happening, at least in America, is that um, we have made a lot of progress economic, right? Even with all the headwinds that we have as Black people, that they're seeing that we're gaining steam, right? Even though it's a celebrity driven culture, we do have Black billionaires, we have Black multimillionaires, we have millionaires, right? We're both millionaires.
Hmm.
Um, Educated, right? We're the highest educated demographic, also the ones that are creating businesses at the highest rate of any ethnicity. They're seeing those
And
gains,
yet, and yet,
and yet, right? They're seeing those gains, and what are they doing? They're doing what their ancestral line has always done: create another trapdoor, go to the same playbook, change the rule of the game while you're playing it. And
mhm,
so it's incumbent upon us to stop playing checkers and start playing chess. And how you do that
Yes.
is you get the game right here.
that's right. That's right. You recreate the game in line with what your objectives are. And you can just say, I choose not to play anymore. I choose not to be a perpetual consumer. I choose not to relieve myself from the stress of being a Black in America with shopping therapy, right? Um, I choose not to pay for more house than I need. So many of us pay for more house than we need because you're impressing your family. Well, on Christmas when family comes over, so you gonna pay an extra $500 a month, 600, 700, $800 a month to keep some guest bedrooms for twice a year when people visit. That's what we doing. And so it was Adelia Borshade once again who introduced us to Paula Pants. And I just love what she says. You can afford anything, just not everything. So Beyonce probably can afford everything. And there was a point in my life at 26 years old, 25 years old, 24 years old that I wanted to be Beyonce. No, I don't anymore. Right? Because with that money, there is a certain amount of work that you have to do and a certain amount of self-sacrifice that you have to
Yeah.
do
You have to
to get there.
sacrifice.
And now that I realize what those sacrifices really mean in real time, in real life, shoo, she can have it. Keep making that money, keep making that money, keep making that music for me, girlfriend. But I would not want to be, Beyonce 2 or 3 or 4 to save my life, right? Like I would love to have the choice of whether I want to buy my husband a jet, but not at the cost of my freedom and autonomy. So you have to think about the material things that you believe you want and what the true price is, because it is
Hmm.
beyond money. It comes with stress, it comes with hard work and practicing, 20 hours a day, whatever she does to get ready for them concerts.
Mm,
I ain't willing to do
Yeah.
that.
A lot of money is
yeah,
hard
and
Like, I'm
work.
having
not.
people psychoanalyze every little thing that you
Then you
do,
do, right?
and your children, and what they wear. And I'm like, look, I'm in the store, went earlier, DSW, looking for some shoes and stuff. I went to Walmart, got my leggings. I'm like, we have the representation that we are displaying helps people demystify what they're striving for. Meaning,
Hopefully.
we yes, hopefully we came up with at a time of lifestyles of the rich and famous, right? And that $1 million and millionaires means that you own yachts and multiple homes, and you have the bling, and you have all the trappings. And yet, like you said with Beyonce, right? A lot of people who have that super status or well known are also oftentimes very lonely because they have to have a bubble with which
Yeah.
they exist. And I'm like, look, I'm a millionaire, shop at Walmart, right? I like a good deal, right? I like comfort.
Right? They
And
did not they
yeah.
did not talk about the teacher, I remember reading about the
Ah,
teacher that
yes.
retired with $1 million. How did she do
Yes.
that? But
Yes.
why wasn't she on some kind of lifestyles? Like, why didn't we see her
Yes.
on
They didn't want us
television?
to see that. They
To
didn't want
me,
us to
how did
see
she
that.
do that? And this was like back in the early 2000s, the first time I read something like that. It's like, so then we think, okay, she lived off of cat food, right? Or what, whatever the step above cat food is. She lived so frugal and was so unhappy all of her life just so she could retire with $1 million. But that does not have to be the case, especially today. Now, maybe back in the 80s, before we had access to investing the way we have access today. So if you are over 60, give yourself grace. We did not have access to brokerage firms and things like that in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s as we do today. We just didn't. If you didn't, like for some of these places, if you didn't walk in with $25,000 to invest, don't even knock on the door. Now you can get started with $5. There's no excuse. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no excuse. And lack of knowledge is not an excuse when we exist, right?
Yep.
When Adelia Borshade
Yep.
exists, when Our Rich Journey exists, et cetera, et cetera,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera. There's just no excuse. And to think that it's rocket science, don't let them folks fool you. We were talking to this lady the other day, and she kept talking about her financial planner and what they were planning for her.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
first of all, that SOB did not tell her that based upon what her lifestyle was going to look like in another country, she had already reached full fire. I said, so did he break this down? He, she, I don't know. Did they break this down for you and show you how much money you needed based upon the lifestyle you say you want? How much money you needed
Well,
to never run out of money? She's like,
No,
this is the first time I'm hearing this. No,
no,
no, no, no. Of course he didn't say it.
but you're paying him.
Right? Because he
yes.
wanted to sell
He
you
has
this
a vested
product over
interest.
here to
Yeah.
say, we're gonna guarantee you this and we're gonna guarantee you can't guarantee anything, first of all.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
just get that straight right now. The only thing that I can guarantee is that me and mine, we're gonna be okay.
Exactly.
But you can't guarantee that the market's going to do this, it's going to do that. We can say historically chances are, but that's all you can say. I said, so we can't even guarantee Social Security is going to be there.
Right.
And if 45 becomes number 47, they're probably going to privatize it.
The fact that 45 becoming 47 is even a remote possibility is just maddening to me.
It's
It is
crazy.
crazy.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And so, again, I hope that the young people today understood the significance of what their grandparents were able to achieve 50 years ago here in
Yeah.
Portugal, and
Yes.
stay true to that, and build from that as opposed to regressing. But in America, them folks.
Yeah. And it's so easy, it's so easy to educate yourself now. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to put time in classes if that's
The
not your thing.
University of YouTube, baby.
Yep.
YouTube, you got
YouTube University,
uh,
baby.
audio books. You got all this
Yes.
information out there that will
Podcasts.
teach you how to do things. Do not, and I always say, and I think that's something we preach, do not count on someone with a title that's going to tell you what they're going to
Mm-hmm.
do for your life with your money and not know what the hell you're getting into.
No. Oh, I just let my financial plan. Like,
Oh, my nephew is it. No.
I
Yeah.
just let my
I can't be
financial planner
bothered with
handle
all
it.
that stuff.
Yeah.
No,
It's
no
too
one should know your
complicated.
money, right? Like, no one should know your money better
Yeah.
than you know
Yeah.
your money.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I just don't understand that financial stuff. I don't under. It's
Well,
like
you
you need
better.
to get educated.
Like, what are the fees that you were paying for XYZ? Oh, I don't know. And what
I
is the
don't
interest
know.
you're paying on that? Oh, I don't know. And then where is the money in your 401k? What is it invested in?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Babies.
Adelia says that no one cares about your money more than you will.
Yes. Say it.
And
Say it
if you
again.
don't care, guess what? They will have at it and they will do what they think is right
That's
for
right.
you.
Exactly.
That's right.
And it's going to be more right for them than they are you. Not that they're going to
Well,
rip you off or
no,
anything,
but they're gonna go towards those
but they're going to
commissions.
go right. They want, I mean, come on.
That's
You
part of
know,
that's
it's
part of their money.
commission based, you know, different things like that. And just because if they're your relative, I understand you love each other, but hey, you can't sleep on it.
No,
You
and
can't
even
sleep on it.
even if you want to give your relative the business, you should still know exactly as much as he does
Oh yeah.
or she does about your money. If you want to be nice and give them some fees for doing that, that's okay. I do you, boo. Do you. But you should know your money as well as they know your money. When y'all call and you book a call with us and I ask you a question about what you're invested in, how what are the fees that you're paying, what is the interest rates that you're paying. If you don't know that, anyone who's listening right now, if you do not know all of the answers to those questions like off the top of your head, just like you know how much that Fendi bag cost that was on sale that you waiting for it to drop down to this and that, like, or whatever the latest is. I don't even know what the latest is. I guess people are not buying Fendi. I don't know what they're buying. I don't know what they're
Look, we
buying.
don't buy that.
I don't buy that.
Right?
But
We can
but
afford to buy it, but we don't buy
Right.
that.
as well as you know the latest gossip, right? Or the latest dance that they've made up on TikTok and IG reels to the latest song,
Yeah. No.
is as well as you should know how much it is costing you to stay in debt, how much it is costing you to invest in this and that. And the bottom line is nothing should cost you more than 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't even pay 1%.
Wow.
Don't even pay 1%.
I don't
It's
even want to tell you what
administration.
I paid for like it was about a year. And then I was like, yeah, goodbye.
But I mean, as soon as you
Yeah,
know,
when you
that's your
know better,
freedom.
you do better.
That makes you that sets you free.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
really sets you free. And until you know that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's
Cuz
not
you
rocket science, people. It
It,
really isn't.
no, you've got to start with analyzing your spending because it doesn't matter. Like we could have been making $300,000 a year, and we probably still would have been negative 22,000 in net worth.
mhm.
We would have had twin Teslas.
Because it's
We would
just
have
more money to
right,
spend.
right. We would have upgraded from the house that we were in. Because 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms were not enough. Like we got to get our McMansion on, right?
Mhm.
So we would have upgraded that and
Mhm.
upgraded this and upgrade. It does not matter how much you make after you're at a certain level, past survival. If you're making minimum
Exactly.
wage, if
Doesn't
you're
make
making
you
minimum wage,
happier,
Yeah.
now, if you're
right?
making minimum wage, I understand, and I'm not talking to you, but
Yeah.
for those of us who've gotten to the point where um, we're just spending to spend, which is a good
Mhm.
majority of the folks who are watching right now, it doesn't matter how much you make. It
Nope.
matters how much you spend
Yeah. Cuz I was
and
paying
how much you
expensive
save,
rent.
right? Right?
And all of those things, right? I had the big income. I drove a Kia. I shopped at Walmart, right? I, was saving for my move.
And did
But
you
one
have
thing,
family members talking crap about what you were driving and where you were living or how you were living? Why
by that
you
time I
drive
had
that?
built my muscle, right, to tune people out. I was pruning, I like to
Mm.
say, in preparation
Okay.
for my move. I was pruning.
Right.
But I will say that had I not started to break free of that consumerism mindset, I would have thought that that big salary was supposed to bring happiness,
Mm-hmm.
and I was supposed to have all of the things what I thought that income was supposed to signal, right? I was supposed to
Right.
have the whatever, Mercedes, the Jaguar, the this, the bags, the shoes, the closet full of things, and I was like, how about I just take this money because it's me and my daughter and pad my retirement, right? And then when I realized, and it was by, you know, excuse me, other watching other content creators, many of whom you talked about in your earlier live, which was like helpful in enabling me to think differently. And then saying, oh, wait a minute, if I put this there, then I can be work optional later. It doesn't matter how I look,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Because, like I said, I was in DSW earlier. Nobody was sitting there in the store saying, I'm standing next to a millionaire, right? No. Right? Right? It don't
They
matter.
don't care.
They
Don't
don't
They
care.
care.
don't care. They don't care.
They don't
The
care.
cops that pull you over don't care. The boss who overlooks you for promotion or slights you in the meeting or takes, hey there,
Surprise.
Hello.
or takes credit for for
Ooh,
your contribution does not care. They don't
no.
care whether you are $22,000 in debt
Nope.
or if you are a millionaire. They
Yeah.
do not care. Like, it does not buy you being treated like a human. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that is the lie and the myth that we're sold.
Yes.
And so we try to buy our way to being treated with dignity. We try to buy our way into be treated like a human, and
Yes.
it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So
Mm-hmm.
stop it
Yeah.
and start creating the life that you want to be treated, and move to a place where you are treated the way you want to be treated.
Yes. Because
Period. The end.
exactly. Because when life be lifing, as it did for me when I was going through my, ultimate fifth layoff, I was sitting there with a shit eating grin. Because I said, you ain't know what I got. I was looking for somebody else to lay me off so I could top it off, baby. Top it off. And that's when you
Give me that
start to
little package. I know what
exactly,
I'm doing.
and it's like that's when you start to that's how I knew I had like ascended to another level
Mhm.
in my mindset because the first layoff, I was married and it was like, oh shit, you lay off, I'm lay off, oh da da da, right? We all this debt, right? Then the second layoff, I thankfully had like a $30,000 emergency fund and I was unemployed for 2 years and kids were on free lunch and all that stuff, right? It wasn't that long ago. It was what, 10 years, 11 years ago now. And then, working my way back up, right? From 0 to 50,000 and, but just being disciplined because if you are a good steward with less,
Yeah.
as you get more,
Mm.
you become better, but you can't become better until you start with what you have and you become a good steward with that. You build that
Yes.
discipline
The
muscle,
muscle.
You
right?
have to. Yeah.
It's muscle memory. And then
It
with
really
that
is.
comes the mindset. It's saying, okay, now that you might have, in my case, double of what I had before, that doesn't mean that now I can spend. I mean, it could, but for me, it was like, no, I had to play catch up. I started over, at 37, 38. I had zero, right?
37, 38. Let's
Yeah.
try 47, 48.
Yeah. And I
52,
knew,
53. 62,
yeah.
63.
I was like, I got kids to put this through school. I want to retire one day, and now, turning 50 in less than 2 months and looking at, all the things that I get to do, like being able to, my mom needed me get on a plane and say, okay, you know what? I'm here, right?
Right.
And to live this life that I had wanted to for my whole life. But the things that held me back previously were related to money. It wasn't related to
Always
desire. I knew I didn't
Right.
belong in America. I knew I
Right.
never wanted to be there. But what held me back was money,
money.
right?
Money.
Either
Money.
having it, being in debt from it, right? All of the things. And now, I guess the blessing, I know the blessing, not I guess, is that those earlier missteps, those earlier lessons prepared me to be at this season of life
Yeah.
to where one, I can appreciate it, and two, I can use those life experiences and the professional experiences that I've had to help others along their journey. And so I want to segue to the questions because we've had a few that have come in, and I also know I'm being mindful that the time difference between us is great.
It's midnight, y'all.
Yeah, and as I'm like, wait,
That's how
for
much we
me,
love you. It's
yeah.
midnight.
Do you guys mentor people one on one for learning, investing, financial literacy, etc.?
Yes, we
Yes, we do.
do. Tansy. I think it's Tansy. We do. And you can just go to ourblackutopia.com, and work with us. And the information is there. And it's not rocket science, y'all. It just
Mm.
isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't.
No, we're not going to invest for you or anything like
Yeah, we're
that.
not
No,
financial
we're not financial
advisors,
advisors. No.
certified financial advisors. We're financial educators. And so we will teach you what we know. And I have to say, it was my stepmother, back at the very, very beginning of the pandemic, when we were first starting to have all this virtual stuff. And I invited her to something. Afterwards, she called me and said, now, the thing I invited her to was nothing to do with money.
Wasn't it Joe's birthday online or
No,
something?
it was something
Something.
political,
Yeah.
something political, right? And she calls me afterwards and she says, "Thank you for inviting me. That was a cool event. So, are you investing?" Okay.
Share the knowledge.
wait,
Thank
where'd
God for
that come
that.
from? But God led her. I don't know, right? Like, and that was the beginning. And thank God for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jess asks for those of us who will have to write it out during this next administration. I challenge you guys. Like, do you really have to? Do you really have to do 4 years? Like, let's just say, whether it goes our way or not, do you really?
Mm.
Because we thought 2025, and we found a way to move that up to 2022. So I say when you want to leave and find a way to make it happen. Now, some folks are in different situations, and I understand that. So the the one thing that I would be doing if we were still in the United States, I would not be buying any new property. I would not be incurring any new debt. I would be saving and investing as much money as possible. Um, I don't. We don't invest in things that we don't understand. The other thing is like the one thing that I do understand, but I cannot wrap my mind around the logistics is investing in physical gold.
Yeah.
Obviously, just like real estate, having a tangible item in your hand makes a lot of sense. Um, if you look at gold from 2000 to today, it has not grown like the stock market has grown, but one could say it has grown more than a lot of real estate markets have. Um, it's a solid investment, but then physically, where do you keep it? And then how do you access it if you need to use it,
Right.
right? And so I would still, from our standpoint, we would be still sticking to the stock market and watching what the big boys do, watching what the folks who are not going to let this crap fail, like those people, what are they doing? Um, yeah, history does repeat itself. And the other thing that I would do is make sure that my passport is up to date.
Please make sure your passport's up to date or get one if you don't have one.
If I could get Mexican residency, I would be doing that because you don't have to stay in country. So temporary residency, permanent resident, whatever you qualify for, I would be getting that. I would be preparing my exit plan. I would have a go bag. We had a go bag. Money, cash money in the safe, right? A credit card with a big balance, limit on it that is free and clear that you can use.
Yeah.
And I hate to say you have to have a go bag.
Yeah.
Like you have to have a bag ready to say, you know what, we got to get out
Yeah, we had a
now.
minimum. We kept a minimum of $1,000
Cash
cash money in our safe
in the safe when we were in the United States because you just don't
for
know.
whatever. I mean, something pop up, you need to, But the thing about it is, you always got to replenish it if you used it for any reason. But
Yeah.
until a serious emergency came up where we did need it, we forgot about it.
Yeah. It didn't
It's
exist.
there. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. 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 So, um, yeah, I would spend as little as possible if we were still in the United States and invest as much as possible. Um,
Is it
you know,
necessary to obtain residency when you're uncertain if you want to reside in a specific country?
no,
No.
Iris. So I don't know where you're from, but Krishan will tell you if you are Canadian or American, you pretty much get a tourist visa upon entry. In other words, it's kind of an automatic tourist visa in a lot of countries. In a lot of countries. So that's every country in the EU, a lot of countries in South
Yeah.
America, but there's a list. You can just Google
Yeah,
it
there's the big list.
of which countries you can just arrive and you get automatic entry. It's not all, but it's a good portion.
Yeah, your passport is good. It's not as good as the Japanese passport. They can go pretty much anywhere.
No surprise. No surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. But we're
Don't
working
thought.
on we're working on getting Portuguese.
Yes,
Uh
but see, here's the other thing, Iris. Even
uh
though you're not
mhm.
sure where you want to live, don't wait around and then not be able to get residency somewhere with that American passport.
Yeah,
What is
cuz
true
rules change.
today is not necessarily true tomorrow.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes.
That is so true.
And just know residency is not the same as citizenship because sometimes we get that question of, well, do I have to give up my U.S. citizenship? No,
Uncle Sam ain't gonna let you go that
they don't
easy.
want you to go,
They want to tax you.
and it's going to cost you money if you
Yes,
try to get out. So
exactly.
Yes.
residency is totally different. I mean,
Yeah.
resident, you can become a resident, legal resident. You can live there. You can buy property. Just
In
like
most
a
places.
citizen, the biggest thing is you can't vote.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah. Mhm.
different things like that. But you want residency. You don't. You're not looking for citizenship
necessarily.
necessarily.
Exactly. Yes. And this one is for me. No, I still didn't get my residency card. I'll tackle that hopefully when I get back home next week. But thank you, Jess. I'm just gonna double check and see if there's any other questions. If not, I'm gonna let you find people go because I know today is already tomorrow for you.
It is tomorrow, and
It's
tomorrow
it's Friday.
I'm gonna be on Picky Girl Travels.
Yes, and I can't wait to tune in. So y'all saw a picky girl in the chat. So definitely after this live is done, bop on over, turn the notification bell on over there so you don't miss these good fine people because they will be live on her channel tomorrow.
Well, she will.
Yes.
I won't. I get tomorrow
Oh,
off.
Yeah, we'll be
ooh.
talking about generational wealth, and
All
which
right
all
now.
like it all goes because I think she was doing financial literacy this month as well. So it all goes hand in hand.
Yes.
It all goes hand in hand. I'm going to give, before we let you go, I'm going to give a couple of tips that we use to get out of debt. So, one is when you have unexpected money, put it towards the debt. Two, if you've got good credit and you get those stupid checks in the mail that let you transfer balances,
Dead balloons
Ta-da!
again. Yay!
look to see what the fees are and the rules are. But transferring balances to a zero balance really helped us pay off things more
Yes.
quickly. Like I set it up on automatic pay. So if it was only 12 months at 0%, I took that balance, divided it by 11, not 12, because you ain't
Mm.
gonna catch me out there talking about it was 30 minutes late.
Right. And, and
That's
and that's the thing. That's the
what they
thing.
try to
If
do.
you do it,
I
don't
ain't a
miss nothing.
sucker.
Don't be late.
ain't a sucker. So I would take that and divide it by 11. If that was, $200, I'd have it automatically put in there. Make sure every month you're not going to catch me out there. But that allowed us to eliminate debt a lot more quickly. We also considered refinancing our car loan, especially if you got the car loan with bad credit and now you have better credit. You might want to consider refinancing your car loan. What you
Yeah.
don't want to do is refinance your house to pay off debt and then turn around and get back into debt.
Exactly.
And that happens more often than not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. That is
And they
Yeah.
so
want you to
true.
refinance your house as much as possible
Yes, they
because it
do.
keeps
No
that money
reverse
coming to the bank.
mortgages.
No reverse
No reverse
mortgages.
mortgages.
And always, always, always keep in mind for credit cards, they are short term loans. Very short term loans. They are made to be paid off within that month.
Yeah. But when you do pay it off within that month, they label you as a deadbeat.
Yeah. They don't like
Mm-hmm.
that,
The
but
credit card companies don't like that. They want you to carry
they
that
can't ding
balance.
you for it, but they want you to prolong payments and stuff
Yeah,
like
they do.
that. But remember, it's a loan. That's it.
Yes, exactly.
That's it. You think about it that way, it helps out a lot.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for the awesome tips, for being excellent business partners as well as
Yes.
guests.
Thank you.
Yes.
Uh, for those of you who are curious and want more of Ric and Halisi, definitely subscribe to their YouTube channel. Listen to their episode on the Black to Global podcast. You can buy the replays to the Move to Portugal Virtual Summit.
Yep.
You can join their program Beyond the Bling Money Mindset Makeover. You can hopefully, if you've already gotten a ticket to come hang out with us in June
Oh
at our
yeah.
Juneteenth celebration, our freedom
Yes.
celebration, because we are collaborating once again.
Yes. It's gonna be
And
fun.
check them out, or check out Halisi tomorrow on Piggy Girl Travels
Yeah.
channel.
Yay.
Look, we
Yay.
are everywhere. And I will be back Thursday, coming from Portugal. Hopefully, with a clearer nose and throat. Appreciate you all hanging with me and the little scraggly I got going on. But nevertheless, like I said, thank you for being so great human beings. You've been a blessing in my life. And I'm
Back at you.
so
Thank you. You
thrilled
too.
that in
Yeah.
this chapter that we get to spend this time together. So thank you.
Love you too,
Okay.
baby girl.
Love you.
Love
Yeah.
you.
Come on home.
Yes, I will be there. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.